One of my favorite NFL minds right now and a guy to read is Nate Tice, Yahoo Sports. You can hear more of him on Football 301 streaming on the Yahoo Sports Network, Fast Channel, yahoosports.tv, YouTube, and everywhere you get your podcasts. He joins us now on the Rude Guest Hotline. Nate, you're on in D.C. It's Grant and Danny, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing? You said you're saying favorite NFL minds. I don't know if you want to step into this. It's like the guy. It's like Charlie Day and Always Sunny trying to find Pepe Sylvia. I don't know if you exactly want that, but no. Thanks for having me, guys.
Let's see what's going on up there for a few minutes, and then like a Magic School Bus episode of Miss Frizzle or whatever, riding around in your brain.
And then you hit eject immediately, and then you just say, yeah, no, never mind, too much.
Hey, I actually want to, this week, one of the things I'm going to do before we get into the matchup is just, I want to get a national, 10,000-foot view of Washington, because it's amazing, right? A year ago at this time, we're on Radio Row, and they had just lost in the NFC Championship game, and it felt like they had arrived.
Bell of the ball.
And now they're blowing out coordinators. Daniels couldn't stay on the field. And it feels like Dan Quinn's going to go into this season coaching for his job. Man, life came at them fast, huh?
Hey, NFL, it stands for one thing, not for long. And sometimes that's players, sometimes it's the teams, sometimes it's the coaches. It does come fast. And when you they double down on what they had last year, obviously making the Tunsil trade, the Deebo Samuel trade. Tunsil trade worked out great. Deebo had some nice moments as well. But that's what they kind of just shifted towards. And when you kind of just have what feels like high expectations, and then the year from, a bad year can be a bad year, or an off year, or a year from hell, or however you want to put it, can feel that way. But when you have high expectations, it feels even worse. I think anybody in life kind of knows that, setting a bar and being like, oh, this is it. It's like tourists going to see the Eiffel Tower. And they go I have to call a hotline now because it's not as big as I thought it was going to be. That's kind of just one of these. When I watch the Commanders right now, I think they doubled down on what their identity was last year. Look at the free agent signings that they made, as far as the free agents that they had coming off the team that they brought back. Whether it's Bobby Wagner, whether it's the guys up front, guys did work out. I thought Dorrance Armstrong had a really nice year before he got hurt. There were some nice moments for some of these players, but they bet on a lot, and it showed that while they got hot last year, and that can happen in the NFL, that when you have weaknesses and the strengths aren't the strengths, and there's not a quarterback in an offense kind of covering up those strengths in a high turnover defense, and you can really feel the warts. And that's not just, Commanders aren't the only team that are in that field. There's some teams that made the playoffs this year that are going to get cold water dumped on them this offseason and next season. But the Commanders were kind of this year's version. So they got aggressive. They tried to do some things, but it kind of showed, hey, they were picking number 2 for a reason. It's hard to turn around and really build up a team, even if you had the aspects that allowed you to get hot.
Nate, one more Washington question, if I may. There's a lot of us around here that are almost afraid to bring this negative energy into the air about Jayden Daniels. The rookie year was so incredible. Took the city by storm, took the league by storm. He was everybody's best friend, and it was like people were going to want to come play with him. It was going to be like Chris Paul and LeBron doing a super team together all the time. People just wanted to come play with Daniels. This year, every 5 seconds, he was hurt again. They shut him down because they just couldn't get it right. And we're all, not all of us, but some of us are terrified that this is kind of the new normal. Where are you at on Daniels?
Well, that was one of my concerns when he was coming out. Was size is going to be something that I'll keep my eye on because of his play style. It's one of the, it's a double-edged sword with Jayden's play style and anyone that wants to scramble a lot. I'm including in his draft class Drake Maye as well as another guy that had a high scramble rate coming out of college. And guys all have to learn how much they can get away with, how they can avoid hits, when they should just throw the ball away, when they should scramble to throw. And there are some concerns that I had with Jayden, which were the concerns. How many hits he took, when he left the pocket, how many of those opportunities turned into running the ball as opposed to throwing. And everybody has to find their balance. Every quarterback wins in a different way, in a specific way. Jayden has to learn just what his balance is. It might be more how Lamar plays, which is Lamar will scramble to throw a little bit more than he used to. Lamar is a guy also I've compared over the years to Wayne Gretzky of all people because of how he can avoid hits. And how he can just kind of slip through hits and get out of bounds and without just sliding either, just to avoid those hits. Luckily, he has the athleticism to do that. Jayden, though, has that athleticism. So I think some tweaks of play style will help him. But this is going to be a concern because if you look at the history of the league, especially in the last, what I consider the modern NFL, so since the 90s, since free agency started, that really got quarterbacks under 205 pounds that can sustain that weight. There's not a long history of guys that had long-term success. And all the guys that did adapted their play styles to be more from the pocket. So you're hoping that maybe the new offensive coordinator that didn't kind of lean into so much with Cliff, letting him be all spread out, maybe one and done reads, maybe making him do harder things from the pocket will kind of guide him to that. But he does have to change a little bit of that play style. But the thing is, though, I still think Jayden is so accurate and so good throwing outside. And when he wants to, throwing over the middle, he does have real moments with that. It's just developing that comfort and maybe just learning, hey, you can't always get it with my legs. It's the NFL. I just have to take what the defense gives me and get rid of the ball. And I think that's just a new balance he has to find, especially post-injury. But I'm not all the way out on him. I think that's funny when you're out of sight, you're out of mind with a lot of analysts. But the thing is just that for long-term success, not just game to game or a month of success or 6 weeks, to be the guy that gets a second contract and plays in Washington for a dozen-plus years, just has to have some tweaks and being more of a throw-first guy when he leans into creation mode.
Yeah, beautifully said by Nate Tice, Yahoo Sports NFL analyst, Football 301 show as well, joining us on Grant and Daniel. We'll get his thoughts on the Super Bowl in just a moment. To double-click on that, how should I feel about going from Kingsbury to Blau? And I mean this as a two-parter, right? One, Cliff right now looks like he could get shut out if he doesn't get the Giants OC job. I think I saw there's going to be 21 new offensive coordinators this year, and he may not have wanted all 21 of those jobs. But if he gets shut out, should that make me feel some type of way? I mean, I had frustrations at times last year with some of how he operated in terms of how much hurry up there was, kind of in a league of his own in terms of no huddle and shotgun versus under center, not throwing to the middle of the field, those types of things. And then also the Blau choice that they made seems to be in line. You look at Sean Mannion, some of the other decisions. This is the new thing in the league. The recent former QB2 who's got a good, sharp insight on running offense.
Well, it's because we now reach this kind of the whole QB2 thing. It's kind of, NFL cycles. I know all of us that watch it, it's amazing sometimes, but this reminds me of when Doug Peterson was getting his first jobs. Clint Kubiak was getting his first jobs. Quinn. But when Kubiak was getting his job, Gary Kubiak, I'm sorry. But when these guys were getting those jobs, they were the backup quarterbacks as well. Bill Musgrave, Harbaugh started and backed up, but it kind of feels like the cycles of it. And then we got away from it, and now they come back. All these backup quarterbacks, Kevin O'Connell, and now with all these guys as well. I have no idea what type of offense he's going to run. That's what's so hard for me because his only coaching experience is with this Commanders staff as an assistant quarterback coach. But he played in several variations of offense. Some had some of that, maybe Stefanski version of the Shanahan kind of Kubiak offense. Maybe it's his own variations of it, which I think is just, I wouldn't say I'm as has many question marks as you guys. I do, but it's more just I have to see it. I can't make any predictions on this because it's just so hard for a guy that has so little experience until I see exactly what he's going to go about. How that's going to mold with how Jayden plays is very interesting to me. The best parts of why Jayden Daniels was able to have that tremendous rookie season and have flashes this year was because of what Cliff did. Cliff's offense was really aligned with what Jayden was good at in college, which was, again, throwing outside, using one-on-one matchups to Terry. That's what he did a lot to Neighbors and Brian Thomas at LSU, working from the gun. I do think Jayden can work under center. He did it sometimes in short yard stuff, Washington, obviously, but also when he was at Arizona State, he actually did a little bit of it. So I think some of that game could be maybe tapped into more. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword as well with Cliff. He helped build up some nice floor for Jayden's play style and how his game was, but maybe didn't push his ceiling higher. Maybe that's what this hire wants to do, what they want to do, higher in a different way. Both spellings are higher there. In a different way that they wanted with Blau is that this offense is more what you maybe think of as NFL-y or maybe traditional NFL. And Jayden has some throwing style that can work with that. And when he's comfortable, how many times did he hit Ertz sometimes over the middle? That can work with this offense. I'm not saying to Ertz, but just maybe to a tight end or something over the middle where he has some of those nice moments on third down that maybe you can build more of that as opposed to just leaning into, okay, this is easy for both of us. Let's just lean into this and maybe push him a little more to try some more traditional NFL stuff. So I don't hate it. I understand some of the ideas with it, but there's no proof of concept, good or bad, that I can look at what Blau can and cannot do. So I have as many questions as you guys do, but I can maybe understand some of the thinking of maybe that's how you evolve Jayden from the crutch of maybe scrambling so much and being in the gun so much and the no-huddle simplification of some of this stuff too.
Nate Tice with us here on Grant and Danny. Nate, let's turn to the Super Bowl. How are you viewing this big picture? Like some years it feels like two juggernauts going at it, or some years it's a great offense versus a even better defense, maybe, et cetera. Give me kind of your 30,000-foot narrative here, just because all what's going on with New England, I think they're underrated because of their schedule. A lot of teams with the 31st schedule don't go 14-3 or now 17-3 and make it to the Super Bowl. Seattle seems like a buzzsaw from the best division. Just kind of give me your general feel.
Yeah, I think if you watch both of these offenses, it's that they're explosive. And I think if any offense wants to, or any team or any fan of a team, including Washington fans, if they want to go, what should we build towards? What are we trying to get? It's watching how the Patriots and the Seahawks both generate explosive plays. Obviously, the Seahawks do it with the Kubiak Shanahan offense that pushes the ball in play action, but they build the whole plane of launching the ball downfield, 10 to 20-yard gains, putting Sam Darnold on the move to throw the ball. Sam Darnold also, and this is a great example, was that he was more of a scrambler and took more sacks early in his career. And this is something Jayden Daniels can learn from. It's to be more of a guy that gets rid of the ball, not just working from the pocket, but even on bootlegs. Hey, just sometimes I want to take the underneath safer throw, quote unquote, than rather just try something or run something or something of that sort. But also Drake Maye is that there's no down and distance that he's not going to try and push the ball. If it's 3rd and 9, he's still launching it 15 yards down the field. This is what defenses are they're trying to dare offenses to do this, and this is what offense should try to do. If all these defenses want to play top down, including the Seahawks defense and including the Patriots defense a little bit, they want to play top down, have these safeties flying down, and aggressive slot players, you have to beat them over the top. It's kind of leaning into the punch of boxing. If you're just going to let defenses do that, they're going to tee off on you. So you need quarterbacks and or offenses that can push the ball. Darnold has a willingness to do this and an offense that keeps him on the guardrails. And then Drake Maye is just like a walking, talking, explosive play with his legs as well. So that is just the name of the game of how offensive football is. You have to be fine enough to run the ball. I actually think the Commanders' run game was one of the better ones the last couple of years, and one of the most creative under Bobby Johnson and Cliff, which is funny now that they're moving on from that. But pushing the ball through the air and finding explosives is huge. And defensively, it's how you generate a pass rush. It doesn't just have to be edge rushers now. Both of these teams the Seahawks they go deep. They're like 7 deep. How many defensive linemen they can throw at you. But then the Patriots defensive line is being underrated, I've noticed, when I've kind of now talked to other national people, Milton Williams and Christian Barmore and Tonga. Those guys can take over a game. What's the shortest path to the quarterback? A straight line. What's the shortest path to the straightest line along the defensive front? Someone lined over the center and the guards. So
to your point, by the way, I saw this stat this week, Nate. The tackle pairing, so the 2 tackles for each team, ranked 1, 2, 3, 4 in the Final Four last weekend in terms of pressures, all in the championship games, which is pretty stunning, but also speaks to the import. We're sitting here talking about, can Washington afford to pay Daron Payne $28 million? It's something we've got to consider. What about Maye? You were talking about Drake Maye, and Nate Tice of Yahoo, one of my favorite guys to hear talk footballs with us on Grant and Danny. What do you make of his regular season as opposed to his postseason, and your confidence going to the Super Bowl against this defense that he can flip the switch?
He might not be a mutter. It might be one of my takeaways. Maybe some weather can maybe get him a little bit. But I was talking about too is how these offenses may generate so much of this is just his willingness to push the ball and find the answers. A lot of offensive concepts that aren't quick game will have one of the routes be called an alert, which is, hey, alert this if you have an opportunity to push the ball. There's different versions of it, post, goes, depends on the concept. But you can see that Maye always has his eyes downfield. He'll move in the pocket to find those throws, sometimes in structure, sometimes slightly ad-libbed out of structure, and he can be aggressive as a runner. He has a play style that I think is the ideal way to play in the modern NFL, which is that with that aggression and having the scramble ability to create a little bit. I do think he can be smart with some of the sacks he takes. The offensive line is solid. Actually, it's been a little bit better, but the receiver room is still but there's times that he can be looking when maybe he actually should look to scramble a little bit quicker. You saw in the Broncos game as he picked that up, but I think the weather did get him a little bit. I think the defenses were also that he faced in the playoffs were really, really good. Chargers, Texans, and the Broncos all had top 5 pass defenses and decent pressure stuff as well. So I think those were really tough battles in weather for 2 games. So I don't think it's been as bad as those look. The film is really funny. It's never as bad as it looks. And it's never as good as it looks when you watch it on TV copy. So I do think we'll see more of what his abilities are in a playoff game that should have decent weather here in Santa Clara. But I do think that his aggression, his accuracy down the field, willingness to push the ball in all situations, that's exactly how quarterbacks should play. Very high on him, very bullish on him. It's very fun quarterback class, and staying high on Maye, and obviously he's had some success this year, but I think it's just this is the floor for him.
Nate, we'll let you out on this. Want to get your thoughts just on the game, the side you'd be on. I saw a stat today. The underdogs of 4 or more points in the Super Bowl. I don't think we've had one in like 4 years. But of the last 5, 4 of those underdogs have won the game outright. What side are you on right now?
I am definitely on the Patriots cover, so that's actually kind of fun. I saw similar stats or something of that sort. I think it was underdogs of 5 or more points are 12-2, I believe it was, in a certain amount of time span. But no, I'm been actually, because I think the Patriots have some stuff that can disrupt what the Seahawks want to do on offense. They have a couple corners that can line up against JSN and man coverage, and Gonzalez and Carlton Davis. They have defensive tackles, I mentioned before, Milton Williams and Barmore and Tonga, that can disrupt the weakest part of the Seahawks offense, which is right guard and center. And I've seen Sam Darnold spiral in games where he's getting pressured consistently. The Patriots also blitz a ton on late downs, which can discombobulate Seahawks, or can discombobulate Darnold. And Kenneth Walker's not great in protection at running back. And also, I just think, the Seahawks our defense has an advantage over basically anyone they play. But the Patriots offense, they can kind of muck up the run game enough. And their run style, they run a lot of duo, which is an at-you type of run. That's the one run that actually has some decent efficiency against the Seahawks defense. And also, again, I talk about his aggression. The way to beat the Seahawks defense that wants to play top down is you beat them over the top. So it might be hit and miss. It might not be 50-50 balls. It might be 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4, like the Texas game was. But I think Maye's going to try some shots, and maybe 1 or 2 of those connect. That's what keeps him in the game. So by way of my hedge here is that I'm saying Patriots cover, but I've actually been leaning more Patriots. It's a little hipstery. I get it. But it also is just kind of what I see the matchup is that the Patriots have some aspects that can kind of, again, discombobulate what the Seahawks want to do.
Nate, great with us, man. Enjoy the week and have a great time watching the game, buddy. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me ramble a little bit.
Oh, we love it.
Man.
Always good. Nate Tice, Yahoo, with us on Grant and Danny.